that I have seen consistently over the years is one steady drumbeat of negativity against the low-carb ketogenic diet. Above everything else, above anything that you hear anybody say about keto, there's one thing that always gets people's goat. And especially as soon as you tell family members, you tell a doctor, you tell a friend, you tell anybody that you're going on a low-carb ketogenic diet, what is the first complaint they always seem to have? They're worried about your heart health. Because, well, all that red meat, all that saturated fat, all that cholesterol that you eat is going to raise your cholesterol, going to give you heart disease, and you're going to die. How many has heard that story over the years of eating a healthy low-carb ketogenic diet? Yeah, we all have. And so we've all heard that. Has anybody ever stopped to ask, where do you get that from? Where is your data? Because to my knowledge, there has never been a randomized controlled clinical trial that shows eating low-carb, eating ketogenic, eating red meat does anything to your heart health in a negative way. In fact, I have plenty of studies that I could show you where all of the cardiovascular risk markers, namely triglycerides, HDL, inflammation, blood sugar, insulin, all of those things and many more get better when you start eating a low-carb ketogenic diet. And yet, this myth that eating keto is bad for your heart health still persists, right? You still hear it out there. You still have people that worry about your heart health. Oh my gosh, you're going to die tomorrow if you eat a steak today. And it's kind of crazy. I used to attend with all the low-carb doctors, Dr. Westman and Dr. Volek and Dr. Finney and all the rest of them. I used to attend these obesity conferences, and I remember at one of them, right at about 10-ish years ago, there was a doctor who made a presentation, and he was a cardiologist, and he said, if I was having a heart attack, I would want the doctor to inject directly into my heart beta-hydroxybutyrate. So beta-hydroxybutyrate is a ketone body. He's like, I would want them to put ketone bodies right into my chest right away. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of weird. What do you mean put them in there? But he knew. He knew from his own research. He knew from what was coming through the pipeline in the research world that ketones had a cardiovascular protectiveness to them. Yet what is it that we always hear when we hear about ketosis as it relates to your heart health? Oh, that's a very dangerous state. And they've said it over and over and over and over again to the point that even doctors now parrot. Oh, you don't want to be in ketosis. I've had many patients and many people write to me who have gone to see their doctor, and the doctor sees that they have ketone bodies based on some blood tests that they run. And one patient, I remember this very vividly, one patient said that the doctor said, oh, we need to flush those ketones out of your body because they're highly acidic and you will die if they stay there. Now, what he was referring to is ketones in the form of ketoacidosis. So those of you that don't know, ketoacidosis is a condition where you have extremely high blood ketones, beta-hydroxybutyrate, and extremely high blood sugar, and it typically hits someone that is a type 1 diabetic. It is on a rare occasion if you've got a type 2 diabetic that is severely dehydrated, they can also get into a state of ketoacidosis. It's very rare. If you still have beta cell function with your pancreas, it's very rare for that person to be able to get into ketoacidosis. But basically what happens when you have elevation of blood sugar that keeps going higher and higher and higher, your body thinks it's starving, and so then it starts elevating higher and higher and higher blood ketones, and you have extraordinarily high blood sugar in excess of 240 milligrams per deciliter, extremely high levels of blood ketones. We're talking in the 20 range. Now, those of you that eat nutritional ketosis, what is the normal range for nutritional ketosis? Typically, it's somewhere around 0.5 to 3. Sometimes a little bit higher. I think the highest I've ever had is a 7.6, something like that, but nowhere near 20. And oh yeah, by the way, during that 7.6, my blood sugar was in the low 60s. And so there is a commensurate drop in blood sugar when you have appropriate nutritional ketosis that's raising those ketone bodies. But still, this notion, ketones causing harm, because those people that get into ketoacidosis, they need electrolytes, they need insulin, because primarily it is type 1 diabetics that didn't shoot themselves with insulin. They ate a high carb meal, blood sugar went up, ketones go up, and they're in a very dangerous situation. They'll go into a coma and could possibly die. So it is a serious thing, but they're not teaching medical doctors that there is a therapeutic level of ketosis that not only is healthy, it's beneficial, it's therapeutic when it comes to your ticker. And yet you're not hearing this out in the mainstream. Until now. Now we have an amazing study that looks directly at this issue of ketone bodies as it relates to your heart health. So if you're just joining us, we're about to go over a December 2020 study, and what it shows is ketones, those little beta-hydroxybutyrate when you eat a carb-restricted diet or you fast or you take MCT or exogenous ketones, when you do all those things, you produce ketone bodies in the body. Those ketones are going to give you cardiovascular benefits. So you ready for this one, you guys? This will be fun. So this was published in the December 15th, 2020 edition of the journal, the World Journal of Diabetes. And the researchers are out of France and Poland. I'm always amazed by how some of the best studies, the researchers are not American. Like, it's okay that they're not American, but where are the American researchers looking at this? Now, I know American researchers, they have to play a game with the NIH. The NIH doesn't always fund these kinds of studies, so it is a shame that that's happening, but it's great that we do get it even when we have to get it from overseas. But the name of the study, you guys, Effects of Ketogenic Diet and Ketone Bodies on the Cardiovascular System, Concentration Matters. You can go look that up. That's in the World Journal of Diabetes, December 15, 2020. And just type in that title, Effects of Ketogenic Diet and Ketone Bodies on the Cardiovascular System, Concentration Matters. So let's read the abstract. Ketone bodies have emerged as central mediators of metabolic health, and multiple beneficial effects of a ketogenic diet include impacting your metabolism, neuronal pathologies, and to a certain extent, tumorigenesis have been reported both in the animal models and clinical research. Ketone bodies endogenously produced by the liver act, and they got some funky words in here, so stick with me, act pletropically as metabolic intermediates, signaling molecules, and epigenetic modifiers. In other words, if you have kind of predispositions for things genetically in your body, ketone bodies actually kind of shift those into a healthier direction. Yes, you have predispositions, but it's not an inevitability. The endothelium and the vascular system, so all that's in here, are central regulators of the organism's metabolic state and become dysfunctional when you develop cardiovascular disease, atherosclerosis, and diabetic micro or macrovascular vascular complications. As physiological circulating ketone bodies can attain millimolar concentrations, the endothelium is the first line cell lineage exposed to them. While in diabetic ketoacidosis, which we just talked about earlier, high ketone body concentrations are detrimental to this to your vascular system. Recent research reveals that ketone bodies in the lower level of millimolar, like we talked about, nutritional ketosis 0.5 to 3.0, may actually exert beneficial effects on the endothelial cell functioning by modulating the inflammatory status, because we know in the presence of ketones, inflammation goes down, senescence, and metabolism. Here, we review the long-held evidence of detrimental cardiovascular health benefits or health effects of ketoacidosis, as well as the most recent evidence for a positive impact of ketone bodies at those lower concentrations on this metabolism and vascular physiology and this subjacent cellular and molecular mechanism. So they're just basically saying, we have overviewed all the literature, we see all the ones about high ketone levels because of ketoacidosis, but we're going to introduce now those lower levels and how these lower levels and what we would call nutritional ketosis levels of ketones in the body actually are providing a benefit. We also explore arising controversies in the field, and we discuss the importance of ketone body concentrations in relation to the effects of these emerging fields. At lower concentrations, endogenously produced ketone bodies upon the uptake of a ketogenic diet, or when supplementing with ketone bodies or their precursors. So that's exogenous ketones, that's ketone esters, that's MCT oil, anything that would produce ketones in the body from a supplement. These may prove beneficial to ameliorate endothelial function and consequently the pathologies in which endothelial damage occurs. So that pathology includes having higher triglyceride levels, having higher levels of inflammation, having lower levels of HDL cholesterol, having higher levels of insulin and blood sugar. They're going to make the case that therapeutic levels of nutritional ketosis actually mitigates all of those concerns so that actually your heart health improves. What I want to know is, why don't we get this kind of stuff on front page news? Why doesn't it lead all the health programs? Like, we know why. There's a lot of special interests in big food and big pharma that don't want you to know that there are great benefits that come from eating a real foods-based ketogenic diet. And there is. So the core tip in this study, and then we'll get to the introduction, ketone bodies acting as fuel molecules, signaling molecules, and epigenetic regulators improve metabolic health and lifespan. The endothelium and the vascular system are central regulators of the organism's metabolic state and become dysfunctional in cardiovascular disease and diabetic vasculature. Ketone bodies in this more low millimole range, which is nutritional ketosis, are protective, while in diabetic ketoacidosis, high ketone bodies are detrimental. At lower concentrations, ketone bodies may prove beneficial to ameliorate the vascular function and alleviate all signs of cardiovascular disease. Now, this flies right in the face of what we've always been told about low-carb ketogenic diets. Guys, I've been at this 17 years, and that steady drumbeat year after year after year after year is keep eating that fat, keep eating that cholesterol, keep eating that red meat, and you're going to die of heart disease. You're going to have a heart attack. You're going to have cardiovascular issues. Oh, you don't want to be doing that because you're going to leave behind those people that care about you. Oh my gosh, you're going to die early. And oh my gosh, why would you do that? And the fear mongering around this specific issue, they have to fear monger because they know the truth is exactly the opposite. All right, let's get into this study. And if you just joined us, we are going over a brand new December 2020 study that's looking at the concentration of ketones and what effect those have on cardiovascular disease. This was published in the World Journal of Diabetes, December 15, 2020. And the name of the study, if you want to look it up, it's easy to just look it up on DuckDuckGo. Effects of ketogenic diet and ketone bodies on the cardiovascular system, concentration matters. All right, so we're up to the introduction now. Ketogenesis, consisting of the production of paravenous hepatocytes, basically coming from the liver is what that means, of the ketone bodies beta-hydroxybutyrate and acetoacetate using fatty acid-derived acetyl-CoA, is a physiologically important process to produce an alternative metabolic source of energy to glucose during the neonatal period. So basically when babies are being formed, they're in ketosis. Shh. You're not supposed to know that.